name's Gabrielle and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be talking about how I transformed my life in a very short period of time. So the catalyst for this transformation was understanding exactly what self-love entails. So if we skip back a few years ago when my life was not going in the right direction at all, I felt completely lost. I had no purpose in life. I was suffering with 20 years of anxiety and depression. I would look online and I would look for answers, and I would come across people saying you need to learn to love yourself. And at the time, this self-love thing on social media, it just sounded like some woo-woo spiritual topic. And I just thought, oh yeah, well, if only it was that easy. And at the same time as well, I thought, well, I do love myself because I exercise consistently. Like I weight trained 4 times a week. I was looking after my body and I ate healthy. And I thought, I'm a pretty decent person. Like I don't hate myself. But what I've realized is self-love is so much more than that. Self-love is so much more than exercise, healthy eating, and thinking you're an all right person. There were things that I were doing over the last 20 years, since the age of 12 up until 32, that were literally destroying myself. And I'd completely overlooked those things. But yeah, literally, I was pressing the self-destruct button. Yes, I was exercising and healthy eating, but all those other things that I were doing were completely cancelling out any positive benefits of the healthy eating and exercise. So after hitting a major rock bottom, it was one of many rock bottoms, but literally in that rock bottom, it was how a relationship ended with my toxic ex. He was a covert narcissist. That relationship ended catastrophically. Like some crazy stuff popped off in that breakup. And I couldn't take any more pain and suffering anymore. I was just sick of this life that I had created. I couldn't go on. I was so fed up. So for me, that was a major catalyst on my journey into healing. That was at the age, I think I was about 31. And I went to counseling, I went to therapy. I had some major epiphanies about my life. And since then, I've slowly been on this self-love healing journey. But what I would say is I have seen the most transformation since this February. So in less than 12 months, I have seen absolute major transformation. And that major transformation coincided with me making changes in my life and getting super, super serious about wanting to feel better, because I sort of felt better after the therapy, after I had those epiphanies. That gave me a bit of relief and I made a few changes, but I was still not feeling like I was thriving. I got to the point this year, I'd found a healthy, loving relationship. That was like a major thing for me. That was something I never thought I'd be able to find. So that brought me a lot of happiness. But on a day-to-day basis, mentally, I still wasn't feeling like I was thriving. So yeah, in therapy, I got serious about wanting to feel better and I got a journal out, put a pen to paper and started writing down exactly how I wanted my life to look. And yeah, I started implementing certain changes into my life and I have done them consistently daily and I've been disciplined with it. From doing that, I've been able to see a major, major transformation in my life, just in terms of feeling more confident. Like literally, I have gone from having zero confidence to being so much more confident. Depression still played a part in my life. Like I was still having negative, pessimistic, dark thoughts. Those for the most part have been completely eradicated. I was still pretty much crippled with anxiety, maybe not absolutely crippled at the start of this year, but anxiety was still holding me back in life and I didn't know my purpose either. Like when it came to my career, I still didn't feel like I had a purpose. I felt lost with that. I've been able to completely transform that now. I know my purpose. I feel so much more confident. My anxiety and depression are pretty much non-existent now. I've found a healthy, loving relationship after being in narcissistic relationships, literally car crash, toxic, drama-ridden relationships. And overall, I just feel so much more happier within myself, like within my body, within my mind. My mind is no longer tormenting me. And a massive part of all this process has, like I said, realizing what self-love is and being kind towards myself, showing myself kindness every day. But in this video, I'm going to talk about the 8 things I've implemented that have completely transformed my life. Side note, these things are very simple and you probably have already heard of them. They're probably things that you know you already should be doing, because if you're watching this video, you've probably already dabbled in like self-help, self-development topics. Maybe some things will be new to you, but overall I think it'll be stuff that you already know that you should be doing. But what I will say is that most people do not do these things, and the reasons most people don't do these things is because, number one, you're not yet serious about wanting to feel better. So maybe you've not experienced a rock bottom where you're like, you know what, I need a change. Like, something here needs to drastically change because I cannot go on with this anymore. Or maybe, like me, to be honest, I experienced both. I experienced a rock bottom, and then I experienced just a feeling of just being tired with life and just wanting more and thinking there's a better way to live than this. Like, I feel like on a daily basis, I should be feeling better than this. I should be thriving more. So maybe you've not experienced either of those things yet, so you're not serious about really, really wanting to feel better. Number two, you're not implementing these simple things because you don't think it will work. You don't believe that it will work. And to be honest, I can completely empathize with that, because when I was in the high of this toxic, miserable rut that I was in, I came across a few of these things and I dabbled in them, but I never did them consistently. To be honest, the reason I didn't keep it up was because I didn't believe they could help me. I was like, my life is a car crash right now, and there's no way doing journaling or something like that, putting pen to paper, is going to completely transform my life. Like, there's something else that I've not discovered yet. There's this magic thing that I don't know about that I'm going to keep searching for, that is going to completely transform my life. And I don't believe it's the simple act of journaling, but let me tell you, it is those simple things. It's the simple things that people can't be bothered to do. So number 3, maybe you're just like me, like the previous version of myself. You're just lazy. You can't be bothered to do them. You've got no belief in it. These things, they seem boring as well, so you can't be bothered to do them. The 4th reason why you're probably not doing these simple things to transform your life is because you're addicted to dopamine hits. So if we go back a few years ago, I wasn't in the mental state where I could sit with myself and do these simple acts, these simple habits every day. I was constantly distracting myself and looking for a quick fix of dopamine to make me feel better about myself. A lot of these things that I'm going to talk about, these habits, these behaviors, they are based on slow releasing dopamine. You're not going to get a quick hit from doing any of these things. These are things that build up with time, and like going to the gym, you've got to go consistently, daily, weekly, for weeks, months to see benefits. So that's another reason why you're probably not doing these things, because you've not got the patience, you've not cultivated a sense of peace and calmness in your body. So you've not even got the patience to sit down and do these things. But I'm going to explain in this video how to cultivate that peace and be able to get yourself in the mindset to be able to sit down and start doing these things daily. And I swear to God, you will see a difference. One thing I will say though is that everyone's different. So now in my little routine, I've found some things that really work for me. Like, there's a few things that I've tried, and then recently I've tried a couple of things and I've been like, oh my God, they are the thing that I need to do every day because I've seen such positive benefits. Again, you might not see such positive benefits from these things, so you need to experiment and see what's right for you. But what I will say is, when you start with one of the habits, don't just do it once or do it twice or do it for 1 week and then give up on it and say this isn't doing anything. Some of these things that I've implemented, after 2 weeks, I've not really seen a difference. I'd say it's at the 4-week mark at 1 month where you start really feeling the benefits. Then once you start to feel the benefits, that will then spur you on, because it becomes addictive. Feeling better becomes addictive and you want more and more of it. Another side note before we get into the 8 things that completely transformed my life, I did a video last week on the things that I were doing that were clearly not forms of self-love. So if your life isn't going in the right direction that you want it to right now, if you're in a rut, if you're suffering with bad mental health, check out that video, because you might be able to resonate. There were 6 things on there that I talked about that were clearly not acts of self-love and that were clearly holding me back in life and stopping me from thriving. So make sure you check out that video. The first thing that I implemented consistently that has helped transform my life is journaling. In February, when I made the commitment to myself to start getting really serious about feeling better, that's one of the first practices that I implemented. I have attempted to do journaling in the past, but I never kept it up. I maybe did it for a few days, a week, and I just didn't have the patience to do it. I didn't have the belief that it would help me long term. But in February, I was like, enough is enough. I've heard a lot of people online claiming that this practice has really helped them. And you know what? I'm going to give it a go. So since February, I have been journaling 1 page of A5 paper. I did that for 4 weeks. And at the end of the 4 weeks, I felt so much better. Like, I could feel and identify a definite difference in my mental state. So like I said, I've struggled with long-term depression and anxiety since about the age of 12. And that was the biggest positive shift I have felt in my mental state in all those years. Bear in mind, I've taken antidepressants before, I've taken tablets for anxiety, I've tried exercise, I've tried healthy eating. That practice over the 4 weeks produced profound effects. And for most of my life, I've had a very negative narrative in my mind. It's been very self-deprecating and it has literally beat me down every single day. And I feel like my mind and the narrative that was playing in my head every day, it was like a broken, toxic record. And I allowed it to play out every day. And like I said, it beat me down every single day. And it just exacerbated my long-term anxiety and depression. It kept me stuck in that toxic loop and it kept me in this miserable, negative rut. And I found the practice of putting pen to paper, it helped me to rewire my mind. And to be honest, like I said, in 4 weeks, I felt a difference. To say that my mind had been in that toxic loop for 20 years, I was astounded how quickly I started to feel better. When it comes to journaling, what do I write on a day-to-day basis? So I'll write positive affirmations. So simple things like, I love myself, I'm super confident. I might cringe at some of these things, but I'll write stuff like, I'm really intelligent, I'm beautiful, I'm driven, I'm motivated, I've got loads of creative ideas. I'll write statements like this about myself, and it's positive statements. So you've got to think, every day for the last 20 years, I've allowed this negative narrative to play in my mind, and it's been, Gabrielle, you're not pretty enough, you're ugly, this is wrong with you, that's wrong with you, people think you're weird, you're not intelligent enough, your life's going nowhere, your life's a mess, can never find love, like there's something wrong with you, guys can sense that there's something a bit odd about you, and that's why you've never had a relationship. Bad mental health has literally stagnated you. Now you've missed the boat and you're in your 30s and there's no hope for you. You've got to imagine allowing those negative words to play in your head every day. That is going to affect your actions. It affected how I showed up on a day-to-day basis. I wasn't pushing myself in my work. I wasn't driven and motivated. I had no energy. I had no confidence. I wasn't pushing myself out of my comfort zone. I wasn't challenging myself. I literally shrank myself to be so small that I didn't want to be noticed. I was doing things to harm myself. So in the past, I've had eating disorders. I've had skin picking disorders. I've hurt myself by consuming too much alcohol. And I feel like this lack of self-love, people pick up on that. So when it came to relationships, toxic people. It was like a moth to a flame. Literally, I just attracted toxic guy after toxic guy. But as you can see, the thoughts in your head that you allow to play out and the thoughts that you believe about yourself are so, so important. It's absolutely profound, because that will affect your actions, it will affect your behavior, it will affect the energy that you give out, it will affect how people interact with you and the reality that you experience in this life. So the simple act of every day writing down positive affirmations, my mind wasn't used to that. It was just used to negative. So you might laugh at this, like when I'm writing stuff down, like, oh, I'm beautiful, I'm intelligent, blah, blah, blah. But it worked. Other things that I wrote down what I was grateful for. So I expressed gratitude. So I'd write, again, it's simple things. I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for my loving boyfriend. I'm grateful that I've got 2 legs that I can walk on. I'm grateful that I'm able-bodied and I'm able to exercise. I'm grateful that I've got access to clean water and food. Literally simple things like bringing yourself back down to earth, because I feel like in this day and age, we end up overlooking these simple things. But I tell you what, if these simple things in life were taken away from you tomorrow, like your family, your partner, your legs, access to food and water, then you would realize how important they are. So I was making sure I was addressing how grateful I was to be in the position that I am. And then other things that I would write about. So I'd write about my dreams and goals as if I'd already achieved them. So I was writing about my dream life as if I was already in it. And again, this was a really positive thing. Another thing that I write down with my journaling is if I've got anything bothering me, I will literally write it down on paper and try and come to some logical, rational conclusion about why I'm having these negative feelings and trying to come up with a solution to it. And I find that if I am feeling a bit negative or I do have something that I'm worrying about, just writing it down on paper is very cathartic and it's very cleansing. And usually once I've written it down, I just feel so much better about the issue anyway. All this positivity was going into my mind, going into my subconscious. And that just really changed things for me. It changed my reality. I could feel the darkness lifting from my shoulders, and it really, really helped me. So since February, there was a period of time where I stopped doing the journaling, and honestly, I could feel the dark thoughts creeping in again. So I got back on it. And then maybe I wasn't doing it every single day, but I was doing it a few times a week. But recently, because it's been coming into the autumn and winter months here in England, I have found that my mental health takes a dip in the winter months and I can start to have dark thoughts. Like if I think back to last winter, I had literally every evening when it got dark, I had like anxious, fearful, doomed thoughts, and I didn't understand why, but I think it was because of the weather. Literally in October, I made a commitment to do a winter mental health challenge. And from now till like the end of February, every single day I am doing my journaling and other things that I'm going to talk about in this video. And doing the journaling every day, it is literally, it's just keeping me on track. It's keeping my depression and anxiety in check. And it just makes me feel so much better. It is rewiring that toxic narrative in my mind. Sometimes now, to be honest, it might be the odd day where I miss my journaling, but then the next day I'll just do double the amount. So I'll do 2 A5 pages. And literally to do an A5 page of journaling, it takes less than 5 minutes. To do 2 pages, like literally it's 10 minutes of your day. So when I think about it, there is no excuse not to get this done. Like everyone has got 5 minutes in the day that they can dedicate to this. Like I said, you can't just do this for a couple of days or 2 weeks to feel the benefits. I'd say for me, it was 4 weeks that I started to feel the benefits. The second thing that I've implemented into my life that has completely transformed my life, I now live by the motto of being kind to myself. So this is a very, very simple motto, but literally reminding myself of this every single day has really, really helped me. I think back, yes, I did the healthy eating, yes, I did the exercising, but there were a lot of other things I were doing that were not being kind to myself. For example, starving myself with my eating disorders, picking at my skin with my skin picking disorder and hospitalizing myself, allowing that negative narrative to play in my mind every single day and not even challenging it. Other ways that I were unkind to myself. So I used alcohol as a form of escapism. I get absolutely obliterated. I put my safety in jeopardy. I'd make really bad decisions when it came to guys. I endured toxic relationships. People would treat me like absolute trash, and I'd just stay and linger on because I was desperate for love, because I'd avoid within myself that I wasn't filling with love, so I looked for it externally. Like I said, I talk about the ways that I caused myself harm in my previous video, which was part 1 of this series. I identified throughout my life I just really wasn't being kind to myself in many ways. So now on a day-to-day basis, sometimes I'll catch myself and I'll be like, Gabrielle, is that being kind to yourself? So for example, a minor thing, a small thing, if I'm ruminating over something that's annoyed me and I'm going over it constantly and it's flooding my body with negative emotions and this feeling of stress, that's not a kind act. To keep going over that same thing and tormenting myself with that thought and worry, that's not being kind to myself. So I'll stop myself in my tracks and remind myself, Gabrielle, this isn't being kind to yourself. Stop doing it right now. Distract yourself with one of your healthy crutches. So maybe do some journaling if you're feeling quite negative or worried about something, or maybe do some meditation. Just do something else. Do a kind act to yourself, but don't allow yourself to ruminate and wallow in this feeling of negativity. In the past, literally, I was just an absolute bitch to myself. Like, I treated myself so horribly, but now I think of the little Gabrielle inside of me. And sorry if that sounds cringe, but I think of that little girl who was just crying out to be loved. And I treated her so awfully for so many years. And now I just want to be kind to her. Sorry, I'm getting a bit emotional. Now I just want to treat her with the utmost kindness. Sometimes I find myself falling back into my old ways. Like I said, for 20 years, since the age of 12, I've been in this very negative mindset, and my sole purpose, it seems, was to hate myself and destroy myself. Like, literally, I was going on this road to killing myself almost. So now I really focus on being my own best friend and not my own worst enemy. And I'm all about doing things that set me up physically and mentally to thrive in life and not destroying myself and my life. So the third thing that I've implemented that has completely transformed my life, I have implemented a daily routine that really allows me to thrive mentally and physically. So before, that was just healthy eating and my weight training 4 times a week. But now I've implemented other things. So like I said, journaling. So when I get up in the morning, I try and do a page of journaling. I also do 10 minutes breath work. There's a Wim Hof breath work video on YouTube. I do that for just 10 minutes. It's like 3 rounds of breath work. I also do meditation. So I do that for 20 to 30 minutes in the morning or the evening. Predominantly I eat healthy, but I'm not super strict. Like, I try and eat healthy whole foods. So I'm vegetarian. So I eat a lot of vegetables, a lot of fruit, rice and pasta, tofu, beans, lentils. You get the drift, like pretty healthy stuff. But I'll have like chocolate most days. So I'll have dark chocolate, or I'll have some sort of a treat like a hot chocolate. When I go out, I don't always pick the healthiest option. Like, I'll eat pizza and that. I'm not super strict, but like 80-90% of my diet is healthy foods. I try and consume as much water as I can. So I aim for 2 to 3 liters a day. Also, I try and keep caffeine to a minimum. As I've suffered with anxiety, I think the worst thing you can do if you suffer with anxiety is drink coffee. Like, I know people in my life who suffer with anxiety and they continue to drink caffeinated coffee every day. And to me, it just doesn't make sense at all. So I keep my caffeine to a minimum. Sometimes I'll have a caffeinated cup of tea, but most of the time at work it's decaf. I never have energy drinks and never have a caffeinated coffee. I always have decaf coffee because, like I said, day to day, I want to feel good. I don't want to feel anxious. And I know if I have that coffee, as nice as it is to have like a latte or whatever, like sometimes I get jealous of people when they're using the coffee machine at work, they're making their little latte and everything in the morning. But yeah, I've tried it, I've tried to do it, and it just makes me feel like absolute crap. Recently, for the most part, I've also given up alcohol. So since July last year, that's the last time I had a big blowout. And that was the issue with me with alcohol. I didn't just have a couple of drinks. It was a form of escapism. It was a form of escaping and running away from my crap life. And I just used to get obliterated. So again, bad mental health, depression and anxiety and drinking, it doesn't go hand in hand. If you're in a rut right now, if you're suffering with depression and anxiety, you need to stop drinking or you need to keep it to an absolute minimal. Again, I know people in my life who suffer badly with their mental health and they still drink, and I get it. It's a crutch, it's a form of escapism. It makes you feel good for a while. No judgment though, like everyone needs to come to their own conclusions and do what works for them. But yeah, since giving up drink, I've felt so much better. And to be honest, I don't miss it at all. So at the start of this year, I went to a breathwork and cold water plunge experience. That was in February. That was for my boyfriend's birthday. And that experience, literally, it was really profound for me. I absolutely loved it. It was such a challenge and I felt such a high. And now I'm chasing natural highs in my life. So I get a high from doing my breath work, from doing my meditation, from doing the sauna, from exposing myself to the cold water. But at the end of the day, those are highs that I used to chase in the form of external validation or alcohol, stuff like that. But these things give me a natural high, so I'm not harming myself. So yeah, now I'm addicted to the sauna and cold water. I absolutely love it. So I don't go to the sauna too often, but I try to get to it 2 times a month at least. So overall, like I said, I've talked about quite a few things here: meditation, breathwork, sauna, blah blah blah. Overall, I would say the breath work, meditation, and journaling have been my number one things. They are the things that I've found the most profound benefits from. At the start of the Winter Mental Health Challenge that I started in October, I made a commitment to doing the journaling every day, and some NSR exercises. So those are nervous system regulation exercises. And they included stuff like breath work, but it wasn't too intensive. Tapping, so tapping work as well, EFT tapping, and various movement exercises. So I started with them, and then maybe after a month, I had a conversation with someone, and that sparked me to just concentrate on the breath work and introduce meditation, because I had done meditation years ago during lockdown when I lived in Melbourne. But again, I never kept it up. So now my daily routine looks like a page of journaling in the morning, 10 minutes Wim Hof breath work, 20 to 30 minutes chakra meditation. So the NSR exercises, like I said, they did include breath work, and they were all about calming the mind and body, which is exactly what the meditation and breath work does. But yeah, I ended up dropping the NSR exercises when it came to like the tapping and the other movements that this lady was recommending, because since doing just the breath work, just focusing on the breath work, focusing on the meditation, I have seen more profound effects for me personally. I know I've talked about a few things here, but this routine doesn't take much time at all. I also have 2 cold showers a day as well. But first of all, I have a hot shower, then at the end, I'll turn it to cold. But literally, as a bare minimum, if I do 1 page of journaling, that's like 5 minutes, 10 minutes breath work, that's 15 minutes, and maybe 20 minutes meditation, that's a total of 35 minutes. And I'm sorry, but I feel like everyone can find 35 minutes in the day, and those 35 minutes could literally change your life, as they have done with me. The things that I'm conscious about when I'm thinking of my daily routine and allowing myself to thrive mentally and physically. So I'm very careful not only what I consume physically, so the foods I put into my body, but what I consume mentally. So social media, I try and only follow people that make me feel good when I look at their content and accounts. Also, when it comes to music, I don't know if you've heard about low vibration and high vibration music. Some of this music out there at the minute can be like very dark. And I noticed when I was depressed, I used to listen to a lot of this dark music. So I try and keep that to a minimum. I also don't watch the news. I feel like the news spreads a lot of fear, like the traditional, like BBC News, ITV News, or whatever. I never listen to the news. I get all my information from podcasts and from going on YouTube and stuff like that and reading books. Fourth way I've completely transformed my life is cutting off toxic people. So whether that be friends, family, or a partner, cutting off people who disrespect me, who when I'm in their company, they don't make me feel good. When you're in the company of someone, tune into your body and identify how you feel and the energy that your body is giving off. Your body will literally tell you everything you need to know about someone you're in the company of. Because when I'm in the company of people who are genuine, who are non-toxic, I feel relaxed, I feel peaceful, I feel happy, I feel like I can be myself, I don't feel on edge. When I'm around toxic people, I will get cues from my body, like I'll feel anxious, maybe I'll have a stomach ache, maybe I'll have a bit of headache, something just will feel off, I'll have a bit of anxiety, I'll be like, why do I feel anxious? Something doesn't feel right. So you tune into your body when you're around certain people. But I'm really ruthless with this now, because in the past, especially when it came to romantic relationships, I would endure toxic relationships. So people would start disrespecting me. They couldn't fulfill my needs, and I would endure that because I was desperate for love and I didn't want to be by myself. And literally, that was such a form of disrespect to myself. And that was being really unkind to myself. So I refuse to do that anymore. Like I said, I'm now living by a motto where I'm kind to myself. And being kind to myself includes not allowing myself to spend time with people who disrespect me and make me feel anxious and on edge. So over the last few years, I've really got good at this. And when I look back, just before I got with my current partner, who I've been with for 2 years, who is literally the love of my life, he's such a kind, loving, genuine person. Just before I got with him, I'd been on a couple of dates, and the guys that I were dating, they just didn't seem that keen. I just didn't have a really good feeling about them. So I cut them off. And that's one of the first times I'd ever done that, because in the past, I'd always just hung on to people. Like even when the red flags were there, I just wanted attention. I just needed constant attention to make me feel good about myself, even if it was the wrong attention. So I just hung on to that shit show of a relationship or whatever it was. Like I said, just before I got with my current partner, I cut those guys off, and that was a first for me. But I feel like that was me sending out a message to the universe that, do you mean, I'm not tolerating this anymore. I know what I'm about and I know what I deserve, and I know exactly what I want out of a person in a relationship. And then shortly after demonstrating that behavior, that's when the love of my life came along. But now something that is distinctly different to what I was like before, I've been able over these last couple of years to cultivate a sense of peace and calmness within myself. I never had that before. That was alien to me. And I really enjoy this feeling and this feeling of confidence within myself. Now, I don't want to sacrifice that for anyone. So if someone is not serving me, if they're making me feel a certain type of way that is negative, I'm going to protect this little space and this piece of peace that I've cultivated. And now my superpower is that I can stand on my own. God forbid if me and my boyfriend ever broke up, I know I would never feel desperate for love again. Like, that has been a massive shift for me. Like, now I really enjoy my own company. As nice as it is to be in a relationship, I've got this sense of peace, this confidence within myself where I can stand strong until the right person comes along, the right person who can fulfill my needs, who I can be my complete self with, and who treats me with absolute respect and love. And until that person comes along, I'm not budging. I'm not just going to be with someone just to get attention. So yeah, that has been a massive, massive shift for me. So the fifth thing that I've done that has completely transformed my life is that I have tuned into my intuition. So when we talk about intuition, I've got a few voices going on within my head and body, and that might sound weird, but I've got this fearful voice that's within my head that's always trying to protect me, and maybe he's putting me down sometimes, but these days that voice isn't as loud. And then I've got this voice, and it comes from this central bit of my body. It comes from my gut. It's a feeling, it's not always a voice. And that voice is just absolute peace. And it's my intuition speaking to me, and it is guiding me on the right path in life. It helps me navigate life, and it has drawn me to finding my purpose in life. And to be honest, even when I was in these toxic relationships and my life was an absolute car crash, I still had that voice, that intuition that was trying to steer me onto the right path and was telling me, Gabrielle, these red flags are coming up. These people aren't right for you. You shouldn't be doing these things to yourself. But I ignored that voice. And as a consequence of ignoring that voice, my life was just never feeling like it was on track. Now I tune into my body. Like I said, I'm through the journaling and through other things like meditation and breath work, I'm cultivating this peace within me. And when there's peace and there's silence and stillness within me, you can pick up on these subtle cues. And the more that I align with what that feeling and that voice is telling me to do, the better and better my life gets. Intuition, it's literally my superpower, and I rely on it so much. It always knows what's best for me, and it always guides me onto the right path. Sometimes when something's not quite aligned in my life, when I need to make a change, I know because my body will give me symptoms. So maybe I'll start to get a rash. Like sometimes if I'm stressed or anxious, I get a rash on this middle finger. I'll start to get a pain in my head. I get stabbing pains in my head. Maybe I'll get like a twitchy eye. I often get a twitchy eye if I've got bad sleep. So when my body sometimes I get stomach issues as well. So I'll get pains in my belly, stuff like that. When I start to get those symptoms, that's when I know something isn't aligned. I'm not on the right path and something needs to change. So, like I said, tune into your body because it will literally give you all the answers you need. And finally, tuning into my intuition, it allowed me to find my purpose in life. Like I said, I felt so lost for so long. But the more I cultivated this sense of peace, the more that this voice started to speak to me. And I realized that my purpose in life is to help others, to serve others. And I've been through all this pain and suffering in my life with my eating disorders, my skin disorder, bad mental health. And it came to me, I was like, I've been through all this and I've come out the other side. And I notice in life, a lot of people are going through a lot of shit and they need help. They're not able to get to the other side. And I can be that person that motivates and inspires them to break free of these toxic cycles in their life. So yeah, if you're feeling lost right now, cultivate this sense of peace by doing your daily routine, your breath work, meditation, whatever works for you. Maybe it's yoga, maybe it's Pilates, whatever it is. Try and calm your nervous system, create some peace. And I swear to God, your intuition will lead you to your purpose. It will come to you. When you've not got all these fearful, anxious, doomed, hopeless thoughts, the good thoughts start coming through. That consciousness that we can all tap into starts coming through, and good things start coming into your life. Another thing that's transformed my life, thing number 6, is that I've started to sacrifice things that don't serve me. So like I said, maybe that's people, toxic people, but for me, it was caffeine and alcohol. And I realized if I'm getting serious about wanting to feel better, I'm gonna have to give up some things that I think that I like, that everyone else does, But do you know what? When I'm getting really serious about it, when I'm thinking about it logically, these things just aren't working for me. And I think I need to sacrifice these things and see how I feel over a few weeks and a few months. And if actually sacrificing those things makes me feel better. And it did. So giving up the caffeine, giving up the alcohol, I've noticed over a period of time, giving those things up has just helped me to feel better. Sacrificing those things combined with the breath work, the meditation, the healthy eating, the journaling, all these things are setting me up to thrive more in life. Side note, I do sometimes have the odd couple of drinks, or like I said, sometimes I'll have a caffeinated tea, but I have kept these to an absolute minimum because I believe if you suffer with long-term depression and anxiety, you shouldn't be drinking caffeine and you shouldn't be drinking alcohol. But again, that's just my opinion, no judgment. I'm not going to be judging you for this. I'm just trying to help people. So maybe it's something that you can implement into your life, just an idea to help you feel better. The seventh thing that has transformed my life is that, do you know what? When I'm having down days, they're not often these days, but when I'm having a few negative thoughts, maybe I'm slipping back into my old ways, the darkness is coming down on me a bit, I make sure I am extra kind to myself, because in the past, when that happened, when I started having negative thoughts, I would take that out on myself. So when I was in a time of need and I was down on the ground, I would proceed to like kick myself down even more. And that just doesn't make sense. That is not being kind to yourself. When you're at your most vulnerable, when you're feeling down about yourself or about your life or about your day, something's gone wrong, that isn't the time to start punishing yourself and picking at yourself. That is a time to be extra kind to yourself. So now, if something goes a bit wrong in my life, or maybe I'm just having a bit of a down day, I'm slipping back into those old ways, I catch myself and I make sure to do things that are going to uplift me. So maybe that day I'll do some extra meditation, I'll do some extra breath work, I'll cook myself a healthy meal, I'll just have a nice cozy evening, I'll do some journaling, I'll implement those positive, healthy crutches, but I will not be punishing myself. So in the past, when I felt crap, I'd go out and get obliterated on alcohol, or I'd stand in the mirror and pick all my skin because it felt like a release. But then afterwards, I'd feel even more terrible because I'd made such a mess of myself. Or I'd go and starve myself because I thought that being super skinny would make me feel better when I felt crap already. I was an absolute bitch to myself in the past, but now I catch myself. So when those thoughts come into my head, those negative thoughts, I realize what's going on. I'll question why they're there, but I will not act on them. I will not punish myself, and I will not be unkind to myself. So the eighth and final thing that I've done to transform my life, I've pushed myself to step out my comfort zone. Over these years, when I've had this negative narrative, it literally knocked all the confidence out of me. And like I said, I just felt so lost because I had no confidence. I started to do jobs that were like really below my skill level when all my friends were like really thriving in their careers. Consequently, I ended up on a salary that was like below what I should have been earning. But literally, I just never pushed myself. I didn't want to attract attention to myself. I was riddled with anxiety, like speaking up in meetings, presenting, anything like that. I just completely shied away from it. And I just felt like, because I had such bad mental health, especially from the age of 17, when I gave up college and then I went to uni, and that's when my anxiety really kicked in. And the depression, it just really caused me to stagnate. And for many, many years, I just felt like I weren't really learning anything new. I was just lost. I just didn't really do anything to develop myself. I was just stagnating. And consequently, yeah, I felt like I was brain dead. And I thought, you know what, Gabrielle, you've literally messed up your life. And now you've lost it. Like that ship has sailed. Like you being able to like thrive in a career and find your purpose and become intelligent again. Like you've lost your intelligence. You've let all your gifts and talents go to waste. You'll never get them back. My only hope at that point was literally I was hoping to find a rich man, to be honest, so he could save me from like my rubbish life and so I wouldn't have to have a purpose. So yeah, that's the state I was in. As I've worked on my mental health and more positivity has started to come into my mind, I've realized all that I was thinking was absolute, utter, negative nonsense. And that was the result of bad mental health. And my life's not over. I'm only 35. I'm still pretty young. Even if I was in my 40s or 50s or 60s, it's not over. Like, you can start again. I've seen examples of people start over in their 50s, 60s. It is not over. You can transform your life at whatever age. People just wake up at different stages in their life. I think there's a pressure that, especially in this day and age, we're seeing all these young entrepreneurs that at 20, they're running this multi-million-pound business. They've got this mansion, they've got this car, they're going on all these holidays. It seems like they've got all their shit together. And people just think that the ship has sailed. If you've not done that at that age, then time's up for you. But that is not the case. And now, since doing all this stuff, implementing this healthy routine, and I've literally just grown in confidence, and I've now got a purpose. I've now got big dreams and goals for the future. And now, over this last few years, I've been pushing myself when it comes to my career and trying to build my confidence. So over the last few years, I've been able to get into a job where I feel more fulfilled. I'm earning more money. I'm challenging myself more. And literally, I'm doing things that scare me. Starting this YouTube channel, creating an Instagram account, sharing my story, that was really, really scary. And to be honest, sometimes I still find it scary because it's pretty hard to grow on here. And sometimes I put all this effort into my videos, they don't get many views. But you know what? These fearful voices sometimes still come into my head and they're like, Gabrielle, people are laughing at you. You're making a fool of yourself. This is never going to work. But I don't let those fearful voices beat me down. I let them have their little chatter, and then literally I take a deep breath and I'm like, you know what, I'm carrying on. I'm literally never going to give up with this because this is my purpose. I have so much energy and motivation when it comes to talking about these topics, and I love hearing about people who've overcome adversity in life and come out the other side. It literally just gets me going, and I could talk about this till my dying day. So yeah, I still have fears now, but that voice is a lot smaller. Overall, I'm just feeling so much more hopeful, and I'm really excited for the future. And yeah, I've got these big dreams and goals, which I never ever had before. So guys, I'm going to wrap up this video. I'm sorry that this video looks a bit dark. Going into the winter, well, we are in the winter now in England, in the UK. So it's very cloudy every day and there never seems to be a good time to film these YouTube videos. So I'm sorry that it's a bit dark, but yeah, I hope this video helped some of you guys. If you're currently in a rut, your life isn't going in the direction you want it to, you don't know your purpose, you're not feeling motivated, you've not got confidence, you're struggling with anxiety and depression, if you implement some of the things that I've talked about, these 8 things, you don't need to do them all at once. Maybe just pick 1, pick 2, and do them daily. And over time, like I said, give it time. You're not going to have positive feedback from them within 2 weeks. Maybe you will, but I'd say give it a month of doing this thing daily. And once you start getting that positive feedback, it will spur you on. But I'd say one thing that's absolutely key with these things, because I can tell you this, and like I said, I think back to the past version of myself. And when I heard about journaling, meditation, blah, 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 these little things, I just thought, oh, that's boring. Oh, that's never going to work. Oh, that's such a simple thing. I can't be bothered. And like I said, I didn't have the patience even to sit down with myself and do it. Like, I just wanted like dopamine hits. I was constantly distracting myself. So I'd say the number one thing, you need to start cultivating a sense of peace and calmness in your body. Because if you've not got that, you're not going to really be in the right mindset to sit down and do these things. So to cultivate the sense of peace and calmness, start with yoga, breath work, meditation, sauna, cold water exposure. Start with these activities that promote slow releasing dopamine, because the key thing here with all these things and this whole process is delayed gratification. This isn't a quick fix, But to be honest, like I said, for a long time, my mind was wired up in like a very toxic loop. And I have been able to see dramatic transformations in a short period of time. Since February, so the last 11 months, I've seen huge transformations. So hang in there. And yeah, you must adjust your mind and get it in tune with the concept of delayed gratification. And that is doing things every single day that don't necessarily give you a massive high, and maybe you don't want to do them every day, but you do them because you know the long-term benefits will be absolutely profound. So these little things every day, it's a compounding effect, and the benefits of them grow and grow over time. And then before you know it, in the space of a few years, you'll be feeling absolutely amazing and your life will look completely different to what it does now. Thanks so much for listening, guys, and I'll catch you next time.